something I've been kind of casually thinking about in the back of my mind is how you could demonstrate genetically that modern human populations actually involve, in a very reasonable sense, more than one species. Right? That you could actually use a genetic basis to demonstrate that there is more than one human species extant currently. And it actually occurred to me a few days ago that this is easy to demonstrate with what we know now. Um, and this involves hybridization between Homo sapiens and Homo neanderthalensis. So that hybridization did not occur uniformly. But the way that it occurred would qualify as hybrid speciation. Thus, the modern human populations which are descended from this hybridization event between Homo sapiens and Homo neanderthalensis, Neanderthals, um, should constitute a new species, distinct from the parent Homo sapiens species and the parent Homo neanderthalensis species, if we're considering Homo sapiens and Homo neanderthalensis to be separate species. Now, that hybridization resulted in a very stable and predictable, you know, genome, which is the new species resulted. Because what happens when you just like hybridize things? You kind of just get random crap, right? Just, it mixes randomly. So yeah, you can get. It's very much like my rabbits right now. They're from quite different strains, right? Quite different breeds of rabbits. So when you hybridize them, the results are kind of random, right? Some of them look a lot like one of the parents, and some of them look a lot like the other parent, and some of them look something completely different from anything, and they don't look like each other, right? But if you were to do this for repeated generations, what's going to eventually occur is you're going to get sort of a standardization. It's going to kind of settle on something. And that new standard that's a speciation event, effectively. So, what we have currently is we have populations of humans. No, mostly Europe and Asia, um, whose ancestry involves this sort of hybridization. And then you have populations of humans, most notably Africans, where this hybridization did not occur, or did not occur nearly as much. So, really, using genetics and established principles of how to distinguish species, you can very, very reasonably come to the conclusion that there are multiple human species currently. And this is independent of looking at features, like, the phenotype, right? This is independent of looking at, skin tone, hair color, eye color, height, uh, expression of sexual features, right? All sorts of things that are different between human populations. Without even looking at that, there is a mechanism within established genetic principles where you can distinguish human populations currently as being distinct species. So again, my point that the reason the reason that we talk about humans today as being all one species, it's a political thing. It's not rooted in science. It's not rooted in evidence. Sure, it's rooted in science, but it's it's politically spun, right? Because we want to avoid holocausts and genocides and things like this, right? Because apparently we can't handle the idea that there might be more than one species of human. What that will lead to is mass murders. uh, yeah. Yeah, but yeah. I think we should be able to handle that. Like, you don't abuse your cat because it's a cat and not a dog. Right? You understand that it's a cat and you treat it well because it's alive. You don't abuse your houseplants because they're not hummingbirds or whatever the fuck. Like, I the fact that we need this, that we need to claim that there's one human species, and it's blatantly political. I think that says a lot about how terrible we are towards each other. It shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter. We should be able to say, yeah, you know, you are different, and that's fine, right? Just like you can say, well, you're from Portugal, and you're from China, and you're from Bolivia, and that's fine. Good. Okay. That doesn't make you less of a person. I don't know. It's interesting. It's interesting. And like I've noted before, I really think that we should consider the entire genus uh, one species. Uh, I'm not convinced that there was ever any speciation event at all back through at least Homo erectus. From Homo habilis to Homo erectus, I can see that's plausible. But from Homo erectus on, I don't know. Same ecological niche, same basic capabilities. Um, you're competing so effectively that you have populations of Homo erectus holding territory until very, very recently, preventing incursion of Homo sapiens, which means that they're doing the same exact thing as Homo sapiens. They are not less competent at filling that ecological niche. And what appears to have occurred is at some point you get interbreeding. So you're able to interbreed. You're filling the same ecological niche. You have the same, such identical capability that one population is able to hold off incursion of another population for hundreds of thousands of years. Right? But the current situation is anything that looks slightly different from modern humans that is extinct is considered to be a separate species. And regardless of the diversity in modern extant human beings, it's all one species. I don't know. The whole thing is nonsense, I think. It's not looked at correctly. It's not looked at, reasonably, I would say. If we're going to say that these extinct populations are separate species, then we have reasonable grounds to say that there are multiple extant species of humans. And as long as you're doing that without the agenda of, like, trying to murder people, I think that should be fine. Right? But clearly there's an issue here. There's a political issue, and that's why we say what we say.